What is going on, real life? Welcome back to the podcast. We are once again in this room, and things are looking a little familiar, guys. I'm joined by Reuben, of course, my host and partner, and once again,
that's right.
We got a really familiar face here, Josh Collip.
Come on, man. Come on, guys. Come on.
What's up?
Come
What's
on.
going on, fam?
What?
What's going on?
Wait,
He's no stranger. He's no
Excuse me.
stranger.
Excuse me. Wait. Security, can we get that woman? She's back again, man. What?
That lady is back, man. Remember what
Dude.
she pulled last time, bro?
I don't know what
Dude.
to tell you, man. My apologies, man.
Show the ring again, bro.
Bro,
Like,
put-
she
put
doesn't
up that
understand.
ring.
He's
Dude.
married.
He's
I'm
married.
sorry.
Get out of here.
Unbelievable, bro. Unbelievable.
Anyway, last time that we had these three people here sitting, we were talking about worship, and we're planning on doing the same thing here again because last time we just felt like we cut it short. Like, we have more to talk about.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we
Honestly.
sure do.
Seriously, bro.
Yeah.
Worship. We could probably talk about that every episode for the whole year.
Bro,
we
we
could do
should
probably
just
a whole season.
let's just make a
It's a
new
whole season.
a
podcast
whole season of
Just
that.
with
on worship.
just on worship. Honestly.
Oh yeah. We
Yeah.
definitely
Bro.
can.
So I mean, worship, bro, is just like we're gonna jump in today, guys.
Let's just do it.
We're gonna
Dude.
jump in today.
Let's just
I wanna start it off with the word though, guys, because that's what we look to for what worship really means, right? Because there's gonna be some people that listen to this and be like, think about it. If you're not a Christian, you don't know anyone that's Christian and whatever, the word worship is just kind of seems kind of weird, kind of cultish, right? Like,
Right.
what is
Yeah.
worship,
Right.
right? Like, so, I mean, it's normal for us, right? We know what worship is.
Mhm.
We know it's we talked about last time. It's beyond the music. It's not just music. It's not just the feeling that you feel in a room when people are playing instruments. It's so much more than that.
Right.
It's
Right.
you offering yourself up to God and giving your all, like Josh said the last time.
Yeah.
But I want to jump into this word right now, Romans 1, and we're going to look at the first two. Romans 12, 1 to 2, those two verses. And I'm going to just read that real quick. It says, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. There's so much in there, man.
I mean,
just
so much.
is.
you know, just reading that, I wanted to stop at so many points,
Yeah.
but I just had to get
Yeah.
through it. But just like, I mean, first of all, brothers and sisters, right? Family. We talked about that already. We're a family, and that's what we're all about. At Real Life, at BC, brothers and sisters.
That's right.
You guys are literally my brothers, and when we gather together at church, we gather as a family.
Yep.
With one mind, one purpose, right? So, in view of God's mercy, he starts that off with that. Paul starts that off.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you, bro? In view of God's mercies.
Wow. Well, I mean, when we think about God's mercy, you know, we can go on and on about how, first and foremost, he wakes us up every morning, you know, and knowing that we're not worthy of the next day and the day after that. Because, you know, we were always taught, at least I was always taught that, you know, one thing that the enemy hates, because the word is strong, the word hate is strong. The thing that he hates about us is that he messed up once and he was rejected. He was cast out.
Right.
Yeah.
We mess up every day.
Dude, the amount of
And
times.
God's mercy is still upon us. He still wants us. He still loves us.
That's
Yeah.
amazing, bro. That's deep.
It
you know
is.
that? Isn't
That's
that, you
deep.
know, and it just goes to show you the kind of God we serve. You know, it goes to
Right.
show you
Yeah.
that when we worship, what Paul is saying, that when we worship, you know, it's like he was just saying too, there's such a difference. It's not just about the music and the lights, you know, and how awesome we sound.
Right.
It goes beyond that. You know, I was always taught that when you have a relationship with Christ in the secret and separate from the platform, it shows when you're on the platform, you know, and that just goes on to the congregation, to the people. You know, one thing that I've always taught is that how is it possible as a worship leader
Mm-hmm.
to lead the flock into his presence when we have not experienced that ourselves?
Yeah.
Right.
You know? So if we have not experienced his presence, then how can we lead the congregation into
On a
his
personal
presence?
level.
Yeah.
Right? So
Honestly,
that
bro.
so that it always comes to my memory when it comes to that moment when David had with King Saul, right? For King Saul to change his the way his attitude was,
Mm-hmm.
David started doing his thing, and in order for King Saul to change, David had to have an experience himself first,
Right.
privately,
Right.
secretly
Right.
with the
Where
Lord,
nobody saw
when
him.
nobody saw him, and that was shown when he was with King Saul, and King Saul, God dealt with him. So that's the kind of worship that I always wanted to have when I was in my teenage years and started getting introduced to worship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was like, that's what I want. I want that when I'm up there, I'm able to have that moment with the congregation, that God is doing something. God is changing hearts. He's changing lives. You know, that's the impact I want to have.
Right.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
so that's
Man.
and
And I love that, bro. I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercies. That's like a call to kind of zoom out a little bit
yeah.
and take a look. Try to just count God's mercies. You can't.
Mm.
You don't deserve it. It's like it's so overwhelming, like a wave. Like in view, try to just picture a view of God's mercies. You can't. But in view of it, offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God.
Right.
So how about you jump into that next part, bro? Like, Drew,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to toss that to you. In view of God's mercies, offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does that say to you?
Can I actually add
Yeah,
to that?
go
I'm
ahead.
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
mean to interrupt.
Go ahead,
you.
bro.
Yeah.
So one thing that I wanted to share was
Mhm.
that first and foremost, I wasn't supposed to be born. My mom,
Wow.
after
I didn't know that.
my brother,
Mm-hmm.
she was gonna go through the surgery and all that and not have any more kids. My parents decided that they were gonna stop after the 7th one. So
Wow.
because I'm one of 9. So after
Wait, after the 7th?
yeah.
So that's too long.
So after the 7th one, my parents were gonna, just put an end to it, like, this is it. But there was a sister back then who, to this day, I called my aunt.
Mhm.
Right.
She literally went to the hospital and paid my mom a visit. She was like, "What you're planning on doing is not in God's will."
And she didn't know.
She did not know. She was like, "God wants to give you more children, and they're gonna be a blessing."
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
when my mom received that, she told my father, and my dad was like, "What? Are you serious?" So when for me to hear that, as I was growing up, and then my dad, who was my first worship director, my mom who taught
Right.
me how to sing, this was something I was like, why not, man? Why?
Mm-hmm.
What God? What can I give you?
Right.
The
The mercy that he had on you, bro.
Yeah.
The yes that he
every
said to
day.
your life, bro.
Yo, every day I went to church as I started getting older. Every youth service, every Sunday service, dude, I always gave my 100% because I'm like, I'm not supposed to be here, but you know what? Because of your mercy, I'm here.
Mhm.
And I literally, I weep every time I'm in his presence, and I give him 100% when I'm in his presence. Why? Because, dude, when you're in his presence, there's nothing like it.
Right.
There is no love that you have with anyone else. There is nothing like being in his presence. And you don't want to leave. You don't want
Right.
to get out
Bro.
of it.
Right.
If there's something I can add on to that, and I actually have a really, it's a different experience because I grew up, worshiping and wanting to understand what that is to me and how it shaped me. And if you know me, which you guys are in a very different generation than me, so I'm in KOTG, right? And
Yeah.
I used to be worshiping. We used to put those like songs up
The
at
videos.
yeah,
and,
all those like really cool, crazy stuff with the graphics. And let me tell you, and this is how I knew things were changing with me and my experience and prayer life, really, when actually, after I started coming to real life.
Yeah.
But during that time where it was just church, home, like the repetition of the religion that was being felt and wasn't really faith-driven, I was that kid that just kind of stood up there and just, like, I would be 6 rows back, and I would be just like this.
Back row.
I'd be like, dude,
Right.
what's up with
you
these guys?
didn't have
like,
that personal experience yet.
Yeah,
Right.
honestly, I was just like, these guys are ridiculous. Like, dude, why are you throwing like? And
This is a concert?
yeah, like, what is this? Like, and I don't even know. Is this a bop? Is it really a bop? Like that? That's
I'm
that's
not
what it
feeling
was.
it right now.
Yeah, but I had this after growing in my faith and going to real life, and after all the praying that we did before all the services and the things that we did just as a family, when I grew and I put myself in the Word, JG had invited me one Sunday to go up to the front. And this
was in a church service?
Yeah, this was on Sunday in 11, I think. Those were the times
Right.
that I only come during those days. And I think this was before I was baptized, actually. And I think this is when he knew.
Is this
that
at a point where you had a relationship with him already? Like, how close were you with JG at that point? Like, did you know him pretty well?
I knew him pretty well, man.
Okay.
We were just hanging out, and I was serving at Real Life for a while. We were just, I was just getting to know the board and being on the team. And he invited me up to the front, and he said, we're going to stand next to each other, and I just want you to, take everything in. And, for the first time, because I had gone through so much of, like, I think there's this moment, especially for kids that grow up in church, where sometimes it's either you don't agree with what's going on because you know it so avidly, or it wasn't healthy at home, that when you essentially stand up there and do it, you're kind of faking it. And I had been doing that for a little while, honestly.
I can relate to that,
Yeah.
bro.
Where you're
Like,
just,
where
you're
you're
just
just
standing there
not
and raising
really
your hands.
feeling it, like you haven't fully surrendered over, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was at a point like that
Yeah.
at some point. It's like, you're not fully immersed.
Right.
You haven't fully given your life over. Like,
Yeah.
Wow.
so it's like you kind of just know what to do because the people around
Right,
you like
everybody's
know how
doing
you
it.
should act.
Right.
Like, oh, this is when people are just
Dude.
these are when people are worshiping, they're lifting their hands, they're singing.
Wow.
Just go with the flow.
That's
But you're
crazy,
not
man.
feeling it on the inside. You're not
Yeah.
offering your body as a living sacrifice. You're not giving your all.
Yeah, I think what's funny is that there have been, like, church memes made about it where it's just like, what kind of worshiper are you? Are you a one hand in the air or 2 hands in the
I've
air?
seen
Or are
that.
you just like one of these guys?
Yeah.
Or like
How
it's,
deep is your
yeah.
surrender?
Wait, what is it? Like, are you just doing it, or are you just like swaying back and forth? Like
Right,
that.
right.
That's the kind of
Yeah.
the stable thing for you. But going back to the thing that I had experienced is, for the first time, I didn't feel like there was any eyes on me the whole time. I think it was always a fear of judgment, even though I knew that I was in a safe place.
Right.
I always thought, like, man, what are people gonna think about me? Like, and it wasn't focused on him that whole time. But he told me, he was like, just let go, and we are.
This
just
is JG. JG
yeah,
told you this.
Yeah, he's like, let go and just be here with me. And
Wow.
I'm like, okay. And I didn't think that he was like, in my eyes, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm here with JG. I'm here with my guy. But I don't think that's what he meant. Like, I think he's telling me just be here, present,
Yeah.
as if you were with one person. And in that moment, I'm like, yeah, I'm here with God. And it's just me and him. And it's the first time that it really clicked for me. And what he did is I was getting into it, and I just decided to do whatever I want. I was tapping my feet. I don't even know what I was doing at that point. But after service, he comes up to me and he shows me a picture. And I'm like, wait, bro, what's that? And it's me. And he's like, I just saw you surrender.
Wow.
And it's just a picture of me doing this and just really giving it my all in the front. Now, I've never, been there performing or like getting up and
And as
worshiping.
a kid, just
Yeah.
going up to
Yeah.
the front in general
Yeah.
is like,
Bro, I was like 13.
Wow.
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 And now you're about to be 18.
Yeah, I'm about to be 18.
So look
Wow.
at how you can sow a seed into someone.
Yeah.
Bro, that's powerful,
It
bro.
is. It is.
Because how many kids are there around us now? How many people
Dude.
are there around us that don't really know what this experience of worship is.
Yeah.
But they want to know.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a responsibility as the family of God, right? To come alongside those who need to experience God's presence.
That's
right? So it's like having that discernment, seeing and loving people, bro, around you, inviting them to come up to the front, putting your arm around them, encouraging them to worship, encouraging them to chase after God, and showing them what it looks like.
Yeah.
Leading by example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all it was. JG came alongside you, led by example, and just told you just to surrender to God. And look at what that sparked inside of you, and look how you experience God's presence for yourself.
That's right.
Bro.
That's a call to all of us. That's what it tells me.
Yeah.
I'm like, when is the last time I went up to the front with someone, encouraged somebody to come with me?
Yeah.
And bro, let's just focus on God right now.
Bro, and to be totally honest with you, you know, up until that point, I was kind of, I don't want to say using, but I was there with you guys as like a crutch because I didn't really know what I was getting into. So I was standing with you guys next to each other, and I'm like, these are my brothers, and these are the people that I trust. And through that experience, it helped me understand, like, I used to always sit with either JG, you, or Age. And after that, I felt calm and at peace with myself, that if I'm sitting here by myself, it's not about me sitting next to my friends. It's not a classroom.
Right.
I'm here with God, and that's all that matters right now.
Wow, that's so good, man. That's like eye-opening to me right now, bro. It's like...
Yeah, because essentially, I mean, when you think about worship, you know, this is the pastor from Times Square Church, Tim Delina. He said it best. He was like that. We normally have. There are many times we have people in the church that they just want to come for the word. You know, they just want to get they just want the information. You know, but it's impossible to get the knowledge or the information without the transformation.
Right.
You know. So he was like, so if you're just here for the information without the transformation, that's grounds for disaster.
You'll start to apply it without knowing what it means.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so they were like, you need this. You need this to get this and to understand this.
Right. You won't even understand it. It won't mean anything to you.
Right.
Man, that's so good, bro. And that just goes to show how you being obedient to God is just, that can spark the eagerness to worship God in someone else.
That's right.
And ultimately just building up the house, building up the family.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about, bro. And then I like how when it says offering up your bodies as living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God, right? Going up to someone and encouraging them to worship, of course with discernment, right? Because everyone is worshiping as well. We're worshiping, you're worshiping. So it's like, you're not really stepping out of your worship to go and encourage someone. It's a part of your worship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It's acting in worship.
That's right.
To further worship God with a brother or sister. So I like how it says after that's your true and proper worship. True worship, offering yourself completely, surrendering, just like how you did at the front, bro.
Yeah, I feel like everybody has that experience at least once.
Yeah,
you know?
And that should be an everyday experience.
It should.
It should be something that you're constantly immersed in. Just like you were telling us, bro.
That's right.
Like a part of your daily life, how you worship with your kids, how you worship with your family. Like at home, it shouldn't be like your worship at home and then you're worshiping like at church and it's like a show.
Right.
And it's not the way you truly worship. You know what I mean?
You know, it's funny because, you know, when you see, as kids, you know, when we were all, when I was a teenager, you know, and maybe even so now for you, you know, and a lot of young people, you know, when you're going through your moment of frustration, you know, and anger, you know, whether it's with your parents or, you know, maybe your girlfriend or, you know, what have you, you know, you notice that a lot of young people, they just put their headphones on and they raise the volume and they, whatever music they're listening to, whether it's heavy metal or whatever it is.
I'm guilty of this.
You know? But it happens, right?
Yeah.
Why do young people always go and go towards music? You know, why do they listen to these specific songs?
Yeah, man, we desire something.
We desire something.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, so if they only understood what worship does, they only understood what entering into God's presence does for you, that would completely change their view on everything in life. You know, whether doesn't matter what misunderstanding or disagreements that you had with someone.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna view things completely different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's what worship does. It transforms.
Right.
It changes you.
It does.
You know, it gives you a different perspective in life. You're looking at things from a different set of lens, you know. So, I mean, that's why for me, I thank God he put me on this path of worship. I mean, I'm so grateful that this is what he has placed in my life, in my hands, you know, because this is deep stuff. You know, whenever I'm going through something, like this kid Isaiah in the other podcast, he was saying that he likes playing the piano. You know, he likes to worship, and he feels that God is calling him, you know, to write music. And that's awesome, because when you're in your lowest point in your life, or you're going through something, and you just go to that instrument that God has blessed you with, you just start playing. Yeah. You know, and songs just start coming out of nowhere. Words just start coming out of nowhere.
Come out of nowhere.
You know, and it's funny because I have a notepad, you know, in my TV stand. And I just, you know, sometimes I just grab it and I just start writing things. You know, I'm like, wow, man, this is good. You know, so I just, you know, and then little by little, you just start putting things together. And that's what God does. That's what worship is all about. Yeah, that's what worship is all about. That's what God does in his presence. He starts renewing you, changing you.
He does.
So, I mean, that's what worship is for me, man.
Bro, and that can be like traced back to just like the music that you listen to day to day. It doesn't even matter like if... Like, I don't know if this is a heavy topic, because a lot of people can be sensitive when it comes to this kind of stuff, but what kind of music you listen to on a day-to-day really does impact who you are.
Of course, man.
Yeah.
Like, and you can see it in the personalities of people that are of faith and not, you know, or choose not to be. It's just like what you listen to and what you intake is what is spiritually going to drive you in your relationships. Yeah. Because you're basically believing it. Right. You know?
And bro, honestly, us as humans, right, formed in the image of God, we are born to worship.
Yes.
Yeah.
We will worship something, whether it's the God who created us or the things around us or the people around us. We're going to worship creator or the created, either one. But it doesn't change the fact that we're born to worship.
That's right.
When you go to a stadium, people are worshiping with their hands up in the air. They're screaming for the team that they want to win. Yeah. Right? When you go home at night, the last voice that you hear is that girl on the phone. We worship something.
That's right.
We want to hear someone's voice. That's who we are. Yeah. That's who God designed us to be. But when are we going to worship in spirit and in truth, right? What if I told you God seeks worshipers? He looks from heaven, looks for worshipers, right? That's what this verse says right here. It says a time is coming and has now come when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for they are the kind of worshiper the Father seeks. God looks for worshipers who really want to worship. So he sees through all of it. He pulls back the curtain. He examines our motives, and he knows exactly how we approach him. And it's just amazing, bro. It blows my mind.
And it's a two-way street, right? That's because not only do we worship him, but he rejoices in that. You know, so his presence comes, and we're all in that. We're all entangled in that. You know, he's sharing his presence, and we're giving him our worship and praise, you know, and that's such a beautiful moment there. You know, I remember this pastor saying once that, you know, there was a moment in during worship that the presence of God was just felt, and everybody was just praising God. And the ground actually started to shake. Wow. So he was like, what is this? And he was like, I can only imagine that's God's foot on the footstool and just rejoicing in his people's worship.
That's good, man.
And Jesus and God that's and good. People's praise. I'm like, that is amazing.
That's a really nice visual.
Yeah. Can you imagine that? He's just enjoying himself and getting the praises from his people. Yeah. You know, so I mean, I love to worship, man. Bro, you know, it's something that's awesome. Yeah.
And if you really look at it, right? We look to Jesus, right? He worshiped God perfectly. From the time he was young to the time he grew up. He worshiped God. He put God above everything.
That's right.
You always found him in the temple. You always found him worshiping and praying, going alone to be with God from a young age. And he shows us how to worship, right? And if you look at what he said, bro, this is the first commandment that Jesus gave us to like above all all commandments. He said, love the Lord your God, right? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and with all your strength. That covers everything, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, everything. Love him. And that's really all worship is. It's not how good you sing, right? It's not a feeling that you get. It's not a reaction, right? It's literally loving, adoring, admiring, surrendering. And that's really what it's all about, bro.
That's right.
That's how
it really is.
Just love him, bro.
Yep.
Literally just
That's
love
good
him.
stuff, man. Yeah, absolutely, bro.
Definitely.
It's the thing we're supposed to do the most. Like, you know what I mean? So when do you guys find it hardest to focus, right? Because maybe there's someone listening right now that maybe they've had that experience once before, right? But the things of the world, right? Like their schedule, their school, their hobbies, relationships, family, everything that's going on, right? We all have stuff going on. I'll throw this at both of you. When is it hardest for you personally to focus on worship? And how do you put aside those distractions? Like for those listening that may be struggling with that, to maybe like for those that maybe be struggling and maybe they're just chasing an experience, but they should be just going after God. Like how do you zero in? Like what do you do?
I think that coming from a guy who went through COVID and basically cut out church completely. Wow. It was just like desolate by yourself. We're doing it at home. It's not the same when it's over a live stream, man. That's just how it is for me.
Yeah.
Say it louder, man.
It's not the same over a live stream. For anybody who's like,
I'll just watch it live.
You just
it's
watch
fine.
it on the, I'll get up and
So true, man.
still asleep.
So
like,
true.
just like you're on your laptop, but are you really present there?
Yeah.
And also the audio quality. Come on.
Yeah.
Like it cannot compare. It is not the same.
Right.
But I think when it comes, especially in the day to day, because I do listen to a fair bit of music when it comes to, I'm commuting from school back and forth.
Right.
Now that everything is back in full
So
swing.
like when is it hardest for you to focus, bro?
It was hardest for me to focus when I basically had a bunch of distractions.
Right.
I never really set aside time, and it's not easy to set aside time, especially in private.
That's true.
You see, you come to church and you have set aside that time. You're there. You're basically, in some
it's
cases,
not really private.
It's
Exactly.
not private.
Right.
Your time in church and worshiping with the body of Christ is not private.
Right.
I think the real key to it being that one-on-one connection with you and him and worshiping is involving in your day-to-day. Listen to gospel music on your way to places.
Right.
Do it when you're in your hobbies and just by yourself, and just relish in the fact that it's like there and it's just you and you're making the avid choice to do so.
Right.
Like that is also a form of worship. It's not this thing where I have to be like doing some kind of praise. Like if you know in your mind that you're there and you're present with him,
Right.
that's all that matters.
It's moment by moment.
Yeah.
Consistency.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How about you, bro? Like when is it hardest for you to really focus on worshiping God and giving God your all? And how do you set aside the distractions and really zero in, and what is it that you do for those out there that may be struggling with that too?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I would definitely like to add to that and say that sometimes, we do it to ourselves. Sometimes we like to say, oh, it's the enemy, it's Satan just bringing these things into my life, so I
Right.
I get easily
Your car getting a
distracted.
flat tire is not
Right.
the enemy.
Right, exactly. So things just happen, and sometimes we easily get distracted, whether it's with work or, the braces we have to buy for our kids, or, whether it's grocery shopping. So there's a list of things that can just easily just cloud our mind, and we forget, at some point what's most important. It's funny because every night I try and pray with my kids, right? And I always say, Lord, I thank you for the food that we ate. I thank you for the clothes that are on our bodies. And I thank you for everything we have, everything. And thank you for this home. Thank you for the vehicle we have. Thank you for the job daddy has, and my kids are there. They're listening to me, and I feel that that's what's important. Sometimes you got to push yourself. It's hard. It's hard, right? Let's be honest. Sometimes in our hardest moment, that's for me, it's hard. You know, because I wake up at 5 a.m. and I can tell you, oh, I wake up at 5 and I do this and this and that, you know. But when you start realizing what you want to see in your kids,
right,
that stirs up strength. That stirs up the energy and the wanting to push yourself and do that. You know what? I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you pray with your kids. You read the Bible with your kids, you know, and you get into character, you know, and they may laugh or whatever, but they're going to remember those stories.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I mean, there are moments like we do it to ourselves. Like we just don't want to do things sometimes. We don't, you know, like, you know, I can pray for like a minute, you know, and just thank God and maybe fall asleep when I do it after, you know, but yeah, I mean, in the hardest moments in my life, I can honestly tell you, you know, that it doesn't come easy. It doesn't come easy to really take the time to talk to him, you know, but then, you know, he's gracious enough to give us another day. You know, like, you know what I didn't do yesterday, I'll do today. You know, and you'll do it, you know, and you'll make it up, you know, and that's how you work.
Yeah, and
you know?
it's not about the fact that you missed it.
Right.
It's like you noticed it.
Right.
And you're there now.
And that's what it was, that you noticed it. That's right.
Yeah, man. I mean, ultimately, the word says, don't be conformed to the things of this world, right? Yeah. Be transformed. There's that word again that you said, transformed.
That's right.
By the renewing of your mind. So, guys, like, this was as part 2, bro.
Dude,
I feel like we definitely went deeper, bro. We went deep to this time.
Yeah, we sure did,
This
man.
was
We
good,
sure
man.
did.
Wherever there's the word, it's always gonna get deep.
Amen. Amen.
So I want to thank you guys for listening, man. Like, this was an amazing episode with my bros, and talking with you guys again was. Come on, man.
Yeah. I want to do it again.
Yeah.
I want to do it.
3?
We need a part. We might need a part 3.
Is there a part 3?
We might need one.
This is a mainstay.
We might need one, bro. Like, let us know, guys. Do we need a part 3 right now? So, thank
Lord
you
knows
guys.
that this one lady really wants a part 3. What's up with her? Why? How did she get back in here?
I don't know, man. Like, get her out of here, man. Anyways, guys, we love you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in, for listening. We love you guys. And we'll see you in the next episode. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.